a lot of loopholes here. I'm fully aware of it, but I just want you to get the general picture over here.
If somebody were a Jew by choice, in the sense of, say, converted or were about Tshuva, would it be possible that through the acceptance of the halachic system, they could be the ones to get to that level of Avraham Avinu or Yitzhak Avinu or anything like that, but by using the halacha as a means to achieve that?
It may be the case, but I'm not sure. I think what we spoke about before in the class before with Yehuda is exactly that is the problem. The problem is the halacha ultimately getting us to the highest form of spirituality, or is it not? Because there's tension between on one side being a free spirit and on the other side being, let's say, forced into a system of doing certain things which may even undermine to a certain extent the religiosity of that person. We discussed that in the great lengths, and that is often discussed by philosophers of Halacha. And there's no easy answer on that question. There are many ways of looking to that. Weizsäcker, everybody, Heschel, all these people are dealing with this. Berkowitz. It stays a problem. I'm only saying, in case we want to argue that indeed the Halacha does not get us there to that level, that doesn't mean to say that it undermines the authority of the Halacha, but the Halacha is functioning as a way to make the best out of it. To make the best out of it, is it ideal? It is not ideal. Ideal is to do without the Halacha. But we know one thing, and that is that if you won't have Halacha, and you don't have the spirituality of an Avraham Avinu, you're worse off. That's what I'm arguing.
I have two questions just about how this upgrade happens, or kind of like going out of halacha, this ideal situation. First of all, is there room within the halachic system for that? Like, how is this progression supposed to happen? And also, does it happen as a nation or as individuals?
I will argue in the next few weeks that there is within the halachic system a way of doing this without undermining the principles of halacha, but just, as I called it before, to unfreeze the halachic system as we know it today. To unfreeze it. What and how, I'll get to it when we discuss that. Whether it needs a nation, yes or no, would be open to debate. For the moment I would say yes, it still needs a nation. I don't know how long it needs a nation. I'm asking, in fact, another question, and that is this. We now need a Jewish people to get the word of God across, to make sure that there's a chosen people as an example, whatever name you want to give it. But it may be that at a certain moment the whole of mankind will get on the level of Avraham, Yitzhak and Yaakov, and then you will have basically done away the need of having a Jewish people. What you then will have is mankind. And that's the way how we started. Adam and Chava, Noah, they were not Jewish. So what we are going through since Sinai, or since whenever the Jewish nation was created, and we're going through this long history where we are a nation living by halacha, it may be a kind of a bridge till we come back to a particular point in the future where there is no longer a need for the Jewish people, that the Jewish people itself is an emergency measurement taken by God. I need somebody, I need a nation to do the job for the meantime, till I have achieved my goals, and then the meaning or the purpose of the Jewish people is no longer there, or is no longer necessary, and therefore it can disintegrate, let's say. Now, if you ask me, are there sources for this idea that one day we will go to a higher halacha? The answer is yes, definitely. And most of these are within the Kabbalah. Because the Kabbalah clearly has an indication there that one day we outlive the mitzvot. Yes, here you get in a very dangerous situation, and that has to do with Christianity. And that is when Christianity maintains that you don't need the halacha to come to God, right? And we oppose this in every way possible, right? Here you obviously see that via the back door, the Kabbalah opened this possibility. It was basically saying that if the Mashiach comes, then the need for mitzvot is no longer necessary because we have outgrown the mitzvot. And according to the Kabbalah, what happens there is, very interesting theory, which nobody can prove, but it's a very interesting theory, that the mitzvot will be so spiritualized that they are or mitzvot on a much higher level than they are today, and they're not as mundane as we now act them out, or that indeed the mitzvah is nothing more than a holy deed like Avram Avinu did at the time before the Torah was given. In other words, it's no longer a mitzvah in the sense of obligation, but it is mitzvah in the sense of a mitzvah. I do a mitzvah. I do a good deed or I do a holy deed, and that's all what there is left of the halachic system. For that, I will try to show you some sources for that. Yeah, please don't misunderstand me. What I'm saying here is a theory, right? It doesn't mean to say that this is definitely the reading on this. I'm just saying, after I heard Professor Gelman, I had the Chobot Alamabot and things like that. This is what came to my mind as a way, because I have also to deal with the problem with you that I was dealing with, and that is the tension between halacha on one side and, let's say, spirituality on the other side and the emotional side of man. And one we had, like you, I would like to do, and I fully understand and appreciate, is to find a solution where both religiosity on one side and halachic conformity on the other side go hand in hand. What I'm arguing over here is you don't even have to go to that. You can basically say the halacha is not the greatest system, but it's the best system for the moment. That's all what it is. And hopefully one day we will outlive it.
I got the impression that you went a bit fast between us having been forced at Sinai and if we are forced now. That seems a different thing. The midrash that the mountain is held over our head can be explained in different ways, not that we are forced. And even if we were forced then, we are still completely free to violate Halacha, to follow Halacha. We are not really coerced. We might feel coerced. The community, the society might coerce us, but Hashem doesn't coerce us.
I agree, but what I meant is a little different. I'm saying that Sinai, when the Taryag mitzvot were given to us, they were not given to us as options. Yeah? The 10 commandments are not 10 suggestions. They are commandments. Right? And from a religious perspective, they still are commandments and they are not suggestions. Yes? What we do with this today, I have a lot to say, that we will discuss later on. I'm just saying, in principle, we must admit that the Jewish tradition, the mitzvah, is a coercive demand made by God on the Jewish people. The 10 commandments were given as commandments.
Isn't the word commandment indicative of the fact that we are free? Because you can only command somebody who is free.
Absolutely true. But it is not a kind of a suggestion. It is a commandment which I can say to, I won't keep it. But that doesn't take away from the fact that by halachic standards I'm still obligated to keep them. I agree that anybody can walk out, and this is what happened throughout the whole of Jewish history, that the Jews walked out, but they didn't walk out on a suggestion, they walked out on a commandment. And God holds that against them, and God punishes them for them and says, I didn't allow you to do that. You have freedom of will, you can definitely do so. If it would have been a suggestion, then there would never have been a possibility for God afterwards to punish the Jewish people for what they did, because the Jewish people could say back to him, sorry, it was only a suggestion. You left it up to us if we would go with it or we would not go for it. But that's not the reading of the halacha. Halacha, after all, means it is a coercive commandment which was given to the Jewish people. What I'm saying is, it's not ideal, but it is the best under the circumstances. What I'm asking in the next few weeks is, has the time not come to rethink this whole thing over in relationship to the whole way how the halacha has developed over the thousands of years, where we got, let's call it, more and more commandments. Yes, we took every 613th commandment, every commandment became many halachot, and it became even more halachot, right? Which may have been very good for the time,